Hey guys, happy Monday. Today I want to do a quick recap on the financial markets. Quite a bit of surprise. The markets did rally a lot more aggressively than I thought. I would say pretty aggressively to the upside. And so we're pretty green across the board. If you look at the market map right here, the heat map in USA, everything's sort of really green, except for like Boeing. That one had critical news today, early in the morning. And then across the world right here, this is what it looks like. So today I wanted to do a quick recap and just kind of share with you some insights or some of the securities I'm looking at. So I'm going to look at Apple, Facebook, Boeing, a little bit of Boeing, not too much because the news is quite tragic, and then also a revisit to NIO. So let's start off with the first one. These are some of the securities that I personally think are coming off a bottom and might have a strong reversal. So looking at Apple right here, this is the technical analysis in terms of what I see. So actually, first before I do the technical analysis, I want to show you where is it that Apple declined to and how fundamental investors might view this security. So if you look at it at the high, it was at 232. You bring it all the way to low, Apple declined about 39%. And so when you get a market decline such as double digit 20% plus, something like a 39, almost 40%, that looks incredibly attractive for fundamental or value investors or just investors in general, right? Not so much the traders. So I did see that bottom at 40%. It looked very attractive. And now I want to kind of analyze where it is today and where I think it'll go based off of today's market action. So I am in the group that thinks that there is a global market slowdown, so a little bit concerned. So I'm not going too crazy right now. I just kind of want to see and watch how the markets play out. But markets will be markets, and the direction that it goes, you just kind of have to follow along. You got to be a trend follower, in my opinion. So what we have again, guys, is a decline over here to about 40% at the low. Or more like 38%, 39%. And then one of the earnings, it gapped up pretty hard right here and then consolidated for some time. So it did revisit the 170 level. Usually when it gaps up, I do like to see where it retraces to. And for the most part, this one held 170. And as of today, with the market rally, it gapped up even higher. So very strong candle, very decent volume, a full candle, very bullish looking. Now, I am still in the boat of like fear of global macro kicking in and another December event, but this one wants to go up, and I think there might be follow-through momentum. I think this one could potentially go up and revisit the 200-day moving average right here at the pink line right there. So that's my take, my quick technical analysis take on Apple. Moving on to the next one, let's take a look at Facebook, and you're going to see that these two charts are very similar, right? So I have detect a potential similar play here. So if we were to measure Facebook the same way we measured Apple, what would it look like? What was the percentage decline? So let's pull up the weekly just to get a bigger view of it. And about at the high right here of Facebook, at the low, decline again about 44%. So again, when fundamental investors see that, it's pretty attractive. It's just to me, the lesson I learned is that when you see double-digit numbers like this, you want to try and just take the opportunity, even though it looks very fearful. Maybe the first 40% dip, maybe not the second 40% dip. The second 40% dip might be a further breakdown to the downside, and you might get hurt pretty bad. But the initial 40% down looks like a strong bounce play, right? So that's me talking with the fear of global macro. But anyways, doing a quick technical analysis on Facebook. So as you guys know, it declined down to like about 44% right there at the low, and then it sort of held 130 right here. And then eventually it started climbing its way above the 50-day moving average right there, which is my orange line. So this is the SMA 50. And then later on earnings, it gapped up right here, right? And we had a retracement down to 150. So this is kind of how I perform my technical analysis, and you kind of see, right? At 160, it held well. It acted as support, this whole dollar psychological price number, and then it climbed above the 200-day moving average. And as of late, yesterday's trading day, it held that. And then today, with the huge broader market gap up, the security gapped up as well, though it faded throughout the day. As you can see, this type of high shadow candlestick. But looking at this, potentially, I think the market action, if the market continues to rise, the broader market continues to rise, I still think this is a solid play. I think this one will have follow-through momentum as well. If you ask me how high, well, I'd say let's visit the next potential resistance. So I'm looking at a climb in Facebook to 180. Now, this will all be turned the other direction if we break back down below the 200-day moving average and the broader market start to turn red. But that, guys, is my quick analysis, technical analysis on Facebook. Moving on on to the next one out of the four. So after Boeing, we're going to look at NIO. So I won't talk too much about Boeing. The news was very tragic, but I do want to point out from a learning perspective, like, I read the news. They did have an airplane crash back in October, and I wanted to analyze, like, how did the markets reacted in October? It was either this one or late October, which would be this one right here, right? So it seems that their airplane, I think it was a 787 or 737, I forget, but the Max 8, that particular model is having issues, and it's raising awareness around the aviation association or industry, and so they're looking into that type of aircraft and is it safe to fly? It's extremely surprising, and the story is very tragic to me, just because looking at airplanes and stuff, normally I'd see the more like the smaller aircrafts getting into crashes and stuff. But when I see something like a Boeing, a commercial flight, that's just like wow, that's big news to me. So that crash, whether I think it was this day or this day, resulted in decline. But it just seems that when these tragic things happen, the markets tend to rebound because Boeing, if you think about it, they don't just do airplanes, they service the government as well. They have a defense division. If you go to their website, let's see, Boeing real quick, Boeing.com. What do we see? So defense right here, right? Space, commercial, and defense. So it is a robust security. I hate to say it, but I think over the long run, this is something. This tragic news will be something that Boeing will shake off. That's probably the something I wish I didn't say. But anyways, that's my quick take on Boeing. If I were to perform technical analysis or just something to help you carry some knowledge going through, this did decline very heavily on some extreme volume right here. How do I think this will play out? This security was already on a very strong increase right here, and this type of news brought it down, and it looks like investors brought it back up intraday. So I think this might have followed through. All right, it might not be over. I think this initial buy was a huge bounce, and that investors saw opportunity to capitalize on. But I think it will continue maybe lower, but not too low. If you zoom out a little bit into the weekly, I don't think it'll go. Maybe it could reach 350, maybe it could go lower, but I don't see it. I have a hard time seeing this one going down below 300 unless it's like a major global recession. And then the last security I wanted to follow up or revisit is NIO. This one we were looking at past few days or a few days ago, or was it a week ago? I forget. But basically, this one had earnings and gapped down pretty hard. And as you can see, what happens after earnings? The momentum tends to follow through, right? And so this is, where do I think it'll go next? Looks like the next support potential is $6. So, but it is quite oversold. It could bounce and then have resistance at 7 and then decline lower. But I personally think this one, now after following earnings, seeing how they perform, I think this one could potentially go lower. If you look at it from a valuation perspective, you'll see that it's trading about a price to sales of 9 and a price to book ratio of 6.66. Now, this is a popular electric vehicle security. If you look at Tesla, TSLA, NIO is more overvalued than Tesla, I'd say. Let's look again. So price to book, okay, so maybe not in terms of price to book, but price to sales, Tesla is only trading about 2 times the price of sales, meaning they bring in 21 billion, it's trading at 48 billion, so about 2 times. But this one only brings in about less than a million, it's trading at 6.79 billion. So I think there is potential for this one to maybe even travel down to $3, which is what my prior thinking was. Unless the hype still holds the security up, then I think it could potentially bounce at 6. But we're going to see a lot of price action around $7 and $6 in the coming days to weeks to maybe even months. I don't think this will increase anytime soon unless I guess maybe some positive news and it becomes quite sensitive to it. But yes, guys, that's what I see for a quick market recap today. Those were the four securities I looked at. Again, recap: Apple, Facebook, Boeing, and NIO. As always, I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks so much.